All right, in this next set of videos, we're going to focus on STAAR questions that involve exponential functions, so you can get a feel for how they look. But in our first, before we get into that, we're going to have a little warm up on exponential growth and or decay. We're just going to get a feel for whether we're seeing growth or are we seeing decay. All right, so let's look at A. As we noticed before, remember that decay is this number that's taken to the exponent. You always want to look at the number that has the exponent right next to it. That's the growth or decay factor. So it'll be this number, and this number for the first three. The other numbers don't have an exponent to them. Those are your y-intercepts. Remember that. Those are your initial values. Okay. So as you can see in number 1, we're looking at a number that is greater than 1. So that's going to be growth. But in a word problem, they may ask you about how much is it growing by. Well, as we said before, this can be broken out into 1 plus whatever. Well, in this case, it's 1 plus 1, okay, to the x power. Okay, so that would be a different way of writing this. Well, this is growing by a whole nother 100%. So when you add 1 plus 1, you're going to get 2 to the x power. Well, this is growing by 200%. Okay? Or you could say it's growing by 100%, actually, an extra 100%. This is how much it's growing by. Okay? So let's change that to 100%. All right. Now we're looking at the second letter, B. And as you can see, this one is decaying. Okay, so it's a decimal. It's in between 0 and 1. And when B is in between 0 and 1, that's decay. Well, how much is it decaying by? It is decaying by 50% because we had to subtract 0.5 in order to get 0.5 from 1. We had to subtract 0.5 from 1. So that is decaying by 50%. The initial value obviously started off with 100. So they started off with 100 of whatever, and then it's decaying. Each time x increases by 1, it's decaying by 50%. And so after 1 unit of x, this 100 will go down to 50 because it's decreasing to 50%. You get the idea. I'm not trying to teach all of that. All right, let's go on to C. Example C is, as you can see, the y-intercept, or the starting point. They started with 80. Could be $80, 80 bees, 80 bacteria. It could be 80 anything. But it is growing because it's bigger than 1. So how much is it growing by? Well, it's growing by this 0.3. That means it was 1 plus 0.3. Well, 0.3 in percentage is 30%. So it's growing by 30%. So we have 30% growth here. You get the lingo. Why don't you try D, E, and F on your own? Thanks for listening.